Hey everybody, this is Lee Blue. I've got a great session for us today. We're going to be talking about why are cheap clients the hardest to work with. So this is one of those things. Like, have you ever just noticed that the clients who are the clients that just want to pay the least require you to work the most? And so why is that? And we're going to really be diving deep into that today. And we're going to go over like a couple of really important points. First, we're going to be like, why do the people who pay the least expect you to work the most? Like, what's the whole thing? Like, what's the mindset behind that whole condition? And then we're going to go over like, how can you attract better clients? Like, what can you do to attract better clients than that? Like the clients that you really want to be working with. And how can you be affordable without attracting cheap clients that make you feel like quitting? So that's really the whole thing. A lot of times what happens is, clients say they don't have the budget. And so people like WordPress developers will then, scale back the project just to kind of make ends meet or whatever. And then the next thing you know, you have this high stress, high maintenance, low paying client on your hands, and it can burn you out really quick. And so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over the whole mindset behind that, how to avoid those pitfalls, and what you can do to actually do a lot better than that. So what can you do to actually attract better clients at the prices that you want to be charging? So therefore, let's go ahead and just dive into the topics here. So the first question on my mind that I wanted to kind of go over right now was, I've actually got some new software here today, by the way. So I'm not sure if this is going to if this is the kind of thing that's going to work out or not. I'm not. So bear with me a little bit as I fiddle around with this new like studio thing for doing these broadcasts. But anyway, so let's dive into why are cheap clients the hardest to work with? What's the deal with that? And so here's the deal. Basically, cheap clients have a couple of traits, characteristics that are consistently present. And one of them is they don't really know what they actually want. And therefore, that kind of kicks off the whole project into this frantic frenzy of experimental mess. And they don't really know what they want because they're in over their heads. They oftentimes the clients that you're working with are people that do other things. They do, they're chiropractors, or they run a health club, or they run a, whatever it is that they do. They don't specialize in online marketing or digital marketing or web development or anything like that, but yet they come in like they're going to run the show. And so, because they're in over their heads, they don't really know how to direct the project. And consequently, the project management flies out the window, the scope creeps all over the place, and it's just a big mess. And so then, as part of all of that, they're constantly changing their ideas. I mean, have you ever noticed that people will say, hey, can you do this? Can you change that? Can you put a picture here? Change the fonts, whatever. And then they really just want you to do it so they can see it and then decide whether or not they actually like what they see. So you have to do all this work up front just so they can decide if they like it. And then they kind of, tweak it. And it's just such a nitpicky kind of unpleasant experience that is just so inefficient. And that's the other thing. It's, everything is this experimental work in progress, which makes the entire project just so inefficient because you're doing things and then undoing things and then redoing things and then changing things to make things worse. But the client feels like it's better. And so it's just this weird, crazy, just hurricane of mess. And then the bottom line to all of it is the cheap clients tend to have their mindset just completely all over the place. It's just soaked in scarcity, and it's really a big problem. And for all of those reasons, that's really why cheap clients are so hard to work with, because they don't know what they're doing, and all of those things we just said, and all of that kind of adds up to not only are they kind of low budget clients and paying a low rate, but they're also driving you to work harder than way harder than you otherwise would have to, because everything is so inefficient. And so what can you do to attract better clients? So like, what can you do to make the whole situation better for everybody involved? And so that's what we're going to be talking about next. And so let's dig into a couple of different things. So what I want to do next is I want to take us through what does your ideal client look like? Like, what are the traits and the characteristics of the people that you really want to be working with? And then let's go over a couple of things about who do you really want to avoid. And the point behind all of this is to be intentional about the clients that you want to be working with, and not just accepting anybody just because they're there, but actually seek out, like actively seek out the kinds of people that you want to be working with. So I'm going to go through like 5 traits that I really want my clients to have in order for it to be a good working relationship. And then I'm going to go through the same type of thing, but in reverse. And so we're going to go through the types of things that you really want to avoid. And so what I recommend that you do is this same exercise, like go through and actually define out who you really want to be working with and who you don't want to be working with, so that you'll be able to weed out these high stress, low paying clients that make you want to quit your job. And so, one other thing, by the way, if I always forget to do this, but if you're here and you're checking things out, go ahead and leave a comment or just wave and say hi, boop, for a high five for the week, and and then I'll know you're here, and I can tell, like, if you have any questions, we can kind of interact kind of live together. And also, if anything that we talk about begins to resonate with you and you want to talk more about it specifically for your business, head over to doublestack.net/call, and we can talk about that for free. I've set that up for a way for us to talk for like in-depth for like 45 minutes for free about your business, about your clients, about how you can break out of this cycle with the exact clients that you're working with. So back to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through what your ideal client looks like. Then we're going to go through what your ideal client does not look like. Like what are the types of people you want to avoid? And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up with some concepts, because sometimes it's the case that your clients are good clients. They just genuinely can't afford the full project that you're recommending. And so what can you do if you want to be both affordable but without attracting the cheap clients? And so we're gonna wrap up with all of that and figure all of those things out. So let's dive into that section now. So what does your ideal client look like? So I'm going to give you 5 things that I look for in the clients that I work with. And the first one is I really want to only work with people who can offer something valuable to their clients. And so what that means is, like, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be valuable in the sense of like monetary value, but it could be like recreational value, but something that matters to the people that they're like. I want my clients to do something that matters is basically what it comes down to. And so that could be like recreational stuff, that people that just want to run a restaurant or something and have it be an awesome, fun, place to go and have a good time. Or it could be like health stuff, right? It could be like fitness or nutrition or like weight loss or, yoga classes or a chiropractor. I mean, it could be any number of things that really contribute to some sort of meaningful benefit to the clients that they're working with. It could be service oriented too. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to really restrict ourselves with regard to the markets we're working with. It could be, lawn care, like somebody who just wants to just crush it and do a great job with lawn care service. I mean, that's something that makes a big difference. Or, heating and air. So somebody wants to be a good plumber, a carpenter, even like dog training or like dog kennels. Like if they just want to do a great job for their clients and they're committed to doing that and they can offer something that's valuable, that is like the starting point. Like the first question I ask is, does the client that I'm working with, can they do anything that really matters? And so, high five, thanks. And so the second trait is this: are they committed to the work? Like, are they committed to their job? And so I want someone who's serious about what they do and they're focused on doing it really well. Because if they're not, then that's just going to be a recipe for a bad situation. And so look at all this. Let me turn all that off real quick. All right. So are they committed? So someone who wants to do the best job that they can do. That's really what I'm looking for. So that's trait number 3. So trait number 1 was, can they offer something valuable? Trait number 2 is, are they committed to doing a good job? Number 3 is, are they coachable? Is my client going to be someone who is coachable? Someone who's willing to accept instruction? Someone who realizes that maybe their way isn't really performing at the level, or maybe they don't even have a way and they're looking for someone to help. Need someone to come alongside and actually lead the situation. Do they have that type of personality? Is their attitude there to be coachable? And then I'm looking, so that's thing number 4 is, are they dependable? In other words, do they follow through with what they say they're going to do? And so if I ask them to get something done, are they actually going to get something done? Or are they going to just kind of, lose my email, be late to the appointments, late to meetings, skip meetings, cancel meetings? Are they going to be dependable, or is it just going to be a mess to work with them? And then the last one, the fifth trait is a little bit more on me than it is on the client, but is the person that I'm about to be working with, do they have a problem that I can actually solve? Can I structure my skills and my business in a way that actually solves the problem that they're wanting to solve? Because if the answer to that question is no, then that's just going to be a frustrating thing for everyone involved. It'll be frustrating for you because you can't actually do anything that really helps. It'll be frustrating for them because you're not going to be able to drive the results they're looking for. Hello. And so that's the thing. So kind of just a quick summary of what the ideal client looks like. It's someone who can offer something that's really valuable to their clients, someone who's committed to their job, committed to their work. They're coachable, meaning that, that they're willing to be led, and they're dependable. They follow through with what they're doing, and they have a problem that I can solve. Now, if somebody that I'm working with meets those 5 criterion, then that's great. That's really what I'm looking for. That's a high value client to me because all of the things kind of line up in a way where I know that this is going to be a successful project. They've got a problem I can solve. I can do a great job. They're going to be receptive to it. So that's awesome, right? So let's kind of flip it upside down now and say, okay, well, if that's who you're looking for, well, who are you not looking for? Like, what are the kinds of people you definitely do not want to be working with? And so this is kind of all going to get added up to a way for us to be intentional about the clients that we pursue. So so as I'm talking to clients or getting leads or whatever, one of the, here's a list of like maybe 4 things that are like major red flags for the clients that I really want to be avoiding at all costs, because these tend to be the cheap clients that make you work really hard, that make you want to like quit your job and freak out. So how do you avoid that? One of the ways that you avoid it is you up front, you kind of figure out who do you want to be avoiding. And so right at the top of the list, if someone's trying to like take shortcuts, like people that are just, they just want to make a quick buck without really providing value to their clients. I can't stand that. I don't want to do that. Another way to say it is like people who are more interested in making money than delivering results to their clients. And so here's an example. So I had this one client that, or a prospect who did not become a client. This was maybe like 3 years ago. He comes up to me and he says, "Hey, Lee, I just had this great idea. I want to work with you on this. I got an awesome business idea. Let me run it by you." So I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. It sounds like it might be the kind of client that I want to work with. And then he says, "Here's what I want you to do. Did you know that it's public record when people register their business names with the state? Like if they're getting an LLC or they're setting up some kind of a business license or whatever, the business name is publicly registered and you can see who the businesses are in your state." He says, "Well, can you go out there and kind of scrape that information and then go and try to reserve domain names related to their business, like try to get their business name as a domain name in case they forgot to do it. So then what we can do is we can actually then try to sell them the domain name after they've registered their business. And now that their business is registered, they're like, oh no, I got to get the domain name. So they're going to be willing to pay thousands of dollars for it instead of, $12 on Dotster or whatever." And so like immediately my brain just like melted. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm absolutely not doing that. I'm totally, that is the opposite of anything that I would ever want to do. And the whole point is it's the opposite of it's like actually trying to like screw people. And so, right off the bat, I was like, you know what, that's not going to work. So that's like a big thing. So like, are the people trying to just make a quick buck without delivering results? And if the answer is yes, then they're not anyone I want to work with. And then so that's trait number 1. That's a big one, right? So here's trait number 2. It's like the hurry up and wait attitude. It's like people who want to get everything, do this, get it done. And then they get distracted. And like so you're out there frantically saying, yeah, I'll do everything I can. And then they get kind of distracted chasing the next thing. And you don't ever make any progress. It's like, you thought that you were in a rush to get stuff done. And it turns out that your client is just driving you crazy for apparently no reason, because now they're distracted doing other things and not getting back to you. So if they had this hurry up and wait attitude, I don't want to work with that. And so, so I want to avoid people who are just kind of dabbling. So this kind of attitude tends to be associated with people who aren't really committed to doing what they're not really into the job. They're just kind of experimenting, and they just kind of put a lot of pressure on you to get stuff done, but they're not really committed. And so, in other words, you're more committed to their business than they are, because here you are working frantically trying to meet these deadlines and do all the things that they say, and then you say, hey, I need you to check this out and see what you think, and they're nowhere to be found. That is so incredibly frustrating. And if that's a client, an attribute for a prospect, then that's a disqualifying attribute. I'm not going to work with anybody like that. And then here's the third one. The third one is like the know-it-all client. Have you ever had a client that just knows all the things already? They run a flower shop, but they know exactly what they need to do for online marketing. And if you suggest anything to the contrary or give them ideas, they don't want to have anything to do with it. They don't want to hear it, and that's really a frustrating thing. And so, I'm not talking about trying to overtake anyone else's business. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about helping people with their online marketing. Like what can you do with your skills that's going to benefit their business? And are they going to be receptive to hearing that kind of stuff, or is it just their ideas and that's it? Because surprisingly, there's a lot of people out there that for whatever reason are just entirely uncoachable. And I don't really understand why that is, but it is. And so if that's the kind of client that I'm coming up against, well, then I don't want to have anything to do with that. And that's a disqualifying feature of the type of clients that I want to work with. So that was thing number 3. And thing number 4 is are you always waiting on them to reply? You need to get something done. You need like DNS for a domain name, or you need to get copy back for the website, or whatever it is that you need, and you send them an email, and then it's like days or forever before they get back to you. And so they don't have any kind of sense of commitment to helping you help them, and that's a big problem. And people missing appointments and having to reschedule all the time, and just this kind of links back to the dependability. It's like the opposite of we were talking about, people that are dependable and follow through. I want to work with those types of people, and the opposite of that I want to avoid. And that's kind of always waiting on folks to reply. So kind of in summary here, the four main things that I really try to avoid are people trying to take shortcuts that don't deliver results or value to their clients, like that hurry up and wait attitude, the know-it-all client, and when you're always waiting on just people to reply, people that just aren't committed. And so the reason that I really wanted to spend this time going through what a good client looks like and what a bad client looks like is so that you can do the same thing. You might have different attributes, or you might have different things that really annoy you, or you might have other things that really energize you, like people that have whatever. I don't know what it might be for you, but the idea is go ahead and go through and make a list of the types of people, the traits, the characteristics, the things that really energize you and you like. And the same thing with the people are the clients that you just can't stand and that just fry your brain and makes you want to quit your job forever. Go ahead and make a list like that. So then you can be intentional, you can be proactive, you can be forward looking with regard to the clients that you accept. And that is really the key. You will be guaranteed, virtually anyway, I guess every once in a while something might slip through the cracks, but you're virtually guaranteed to get much better clients like that, even if those clients don't have a high ticket budget. And so that's what that's kind of how I want to wrap things up. So, the whole premise of this session today was to go through a process to get to the point where you're avoiding interacting with these low budget clients that stress you out, like the low budget, high stress clients, right? How do you avoid that and start working in a way with your clients that actually is rewarding, even if they don't necessarily have that high ticket budget to begin with? So sometimes it really is the case that you're working with someone who is your ideal client, right? Like all those things that we just talked about they offer something valuable, they're committed to their work, they're coachable, they're interested in your thoughts and ideas, they're dependable, they follow through, and they have problems that you can solve. Like all of the things line up so that you feel really good about the client, but yet they don't have, $5,000 to build a website. So what do you do about that? Like, how can you structure things in a way that makes things affordable, but doesn't attract cheap clients? And that's a really big point. It's a really big differentiating thing, because you don't have to charge, even if you're charging a low low rate for a particular service, you don't want those cheap clients to be like bogging you down. So what do you do? Like, how can you do that? And so what we talked about this a couple of different ways in a couple of different sessions before. So like if you're here for the first time or you haven't had a chance to check them out, check out the I Can't Afford That Myth session that we did. And there's a couple other ones too, with regard to structuring your services in a way that kind of put things within reach for your clients. But here's the thing, be intentional about the clients that you select. Avoid cheap clients by staying true to your standards. And if you don't have any standards, well, now's the time to set some up and go through exactly what we just did here today together. Do that for yourself and for your clients so you actually have standards and you're not just, taking any old project that just drifts across your desk regardless of the circumstances. And then ask yourself why, like if you do find a client that you like, why are they being cheap? Are they committed to being the best, or are they just dabbling? Do they think that they know what they want and they just need like a cheap worker? Or are they actually interested in having you suggest some ideas and lead them into success that's greater than they would be able to get on their own? Do they have a problem that's even worth your time to solve? Like is the issue that they're trying to fix with hiring you even something that's worth your time to invest in? Or is it, just some kind of a cheap problem or maybe it's not even a problem at all? And so if you kind of go through that whole process and find out, yeah, this is actually a legit client that you really want to work with, then now is the time to figure out how you can be effective and affordable at the same time. And so again, I really want to underscore, does the client meet your standards? If the answer is yes, then build a path so that they can actually get to the end result. So maybe they can't leap from where they are now all the way to the result that they're looking for, but maybe they can take the first step. So what that means is, can you structure what you're offering in a way that has those stepping stones so that you can do a little bit, get some results. Once the results start coming in, do a little bit more. Get some more results, do a little bit more. And every time you do a little bit more, you're taking another step towards the ultimate goal where you're eventually doing the full project. And I think it was last session, actually, we talked about the concept of, it's great to be able to build a website and have like this high ticket offer to build out an online presence, which is more than the website, right? It's the whole online presence, the website, email marketing stuff, social media stuff, SEO, all the different kinds of things you have to do online. But then once the site is launched, sticking with the client on that month-to-month basis, doing things that drive a business result. Not just, WordPress plugin, maintenance, updates, whatever. If you need to do that, so put that in the mix, but make the heart of the retainer be business result oriented. And so what can you do on that month-to-month basis to keep driving those results? And so what you need to do is, structure your path. Like if in fact you find a client that you want to work with, but they just don't have the money to do everything you're suggesting at once, and it's legit, you've looked at the I Can't Afford That myth, and it doesn't apply to any of the things that your client is doing. And, then go ahead and say, well, okay, out of all the things that I've recommended that you do, here's the first step. And then put that in place. Oftentimes what that looks like is the retainer first concept. That's what we talked about before. Build out the site, then do the retainer. That's the traditional approach. Well, sometimes the client can't afford that full site build out. What can you do with the site they already have? Or maybe they don't have a site at all. What can you do just before they get to the point where they're actually building out the site? Like what can you do online that actually is going to help them get to the point where they can build out the site they really need? And so that's the retainer first concept. And so what can you put into those retainers that's going to start driving business results at an affordable rate? Like even if it's just a small, like maybe they're just paying you a couple hours, maybe 2 hours per month, 150, 170, 200 bucks a month or whatever, to do some things to really help their business. And then of course, once those extra clients, like once that trickle starts, then reinvest that into larger things. And that's really the heart of that retainer first concept we were talking about last week. That's what you can do to avoid these cheap clients. But actually what I mean to say is that's what you can do to work with clients that don't have the budget, but aren't the cheap clients that stress you out. So what that means is structure your offer in a way that enables people to actually step along the stepping stones. And so that's really the big question. And if you're wondering what that can be, well, that's the whole point of us talking about that, because depending on who the client is, like whether it's somebody who runs a restaurant, they're going to have really different goals from somebody who's running a landscaping business versus somebody who's, like a personal trainer or whatever. Like all of those different people have different kinds of goals in mind. And so the key is structuring the services and what you can do online specifically for those clients. And so as you're being intentional about your clients, you're also being intentional about that question. Like, do they have a problem I can solve? And so if you want to talk about that in the context of your clients and the people that you're interested in working with, so that you can structure those kind of that retainer first approach, that's the point of us talking about that. So head over to doublestack.net/call, book a call with me, and let's talk about who your clients are and what the prices are that you find that people can afford in your area, and what kind of services can you put together so that you can actually begin to start making a difference and an impact with those clients and with their businesses, so that you can begin to walk them along the path to that ultimate goal of success, where you're doing a ton of stuff, they're having great results from it, all of it's working together really nicely. So if that's the kind of thing that you want to talk about and you kind of feel stuck, and a lot of people feel kind of stuck thinking, well, what can I do that's more than just a plugin updates or web hosting or security patches, or maybe helping them write blog posts or whatever. Like what are some things that I can do to help? Let's talk about that, and we'll figure that out together in the context of your clients, your business, the people you want to be working with, the people that really energize you. So head over to doublestack.net/call. You'll find my calendar there. Pick a time that works for you, and then we'll talk about those types of things. And I really want to encourage you to do it right now. Like, how much longer are you going to have to wait in order to start doing this kind of stuff? And it's free. Like, where else are you going to find someone offering to help you do this kind of stuff for free? And so yeah, just definitely head over there, especially right now with the holidays coming, where things might be slowing down, and building new websites is a problem because people don't want to build new websites right now. What can you do to help them with the websites they already have? Or if they have a website that's doing great, what can you do to make it even better than that? So anyway, so head over to doublestack.net, book a time. We'll talk about this stuff, and that'll be awesome. So I really look forward to talking to you guys. Thanks for showing up today. And again, if you have any questions or comments or whatever, or just want to put a high five, boop, in for the week, head over to the comment section and do that. And I'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the week. And thanks again for showing up. And I think I've got some cool announcements coming up for maybe later in the week or maybe next week. So stay tuned for that. That'll be pretty exciting. So that's what I got for today, and look forward to seeing you Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and take care. See you then.